Hello and welcome to our Epsom Derby preview. Jack, it's Derby week after all this time. You told everyone last week that it's not your favourite race of all time, but can you get excited for this one?
Yeah, perhaps sacrilege to say.
I'd say it was sacrilege, yeah.
It's just not my favourite race, you know. It's just one of those things. Like it's a great meeting. Obviously, I'm really looking forward to it. But like for me, Royal Ascot is the best.
You get so excited for Royal Ascot every year. I can't tell you, this man's whole year revolves around Royal Ascot. You would love it to be as big as the Cheltenham Festival in terms of like the previewing side. You've always got horses on your mind for the Royal Ascot, haven't you? Do you have one for everyone this year? A horse you're really looking forward to? I mean, obviously at this point, English Oak ran really well at the weekend. And actually, I said wins about 6 lengths, and you went, I hope not. And he did go and win 6 lengths. How did you feel about that?
More concerned that he's probably not going to go the Wokingham now.
Okay.
He won so well over 7 that I think they probably are strongly considering the Buckingham Palace now.
Do you think the ground maybe... Oh yeah, I mean, it showed even more a sort of an emphasis on stamina that weekend.
Possibly, yeah. And then that may lend itself to obviously staying at 7.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been a decision made yet. Obviously, he got an entry in the July Cup. They've always kind of had 6 furlongs in the head. They obviously still do. But yeah, I'd say they're probably leaning more towards that now. The only actual bet I've had so far for Royal Ascot is Xantha in the Queen Mary. I thought she was.
What do you love about this filly?
Well, she's only had 1 start, so obviously these 2-year-old races, like to be honest, 2-year-old races are the ones I'd probably tend to avoid in Royal Ascot week. I was just really taken by her debut. She beat the Colts, I think. I always can mark that up when fillies do beat the Colts. It
was a grinding victory, wasn't it? Because it was only in the final strides where she kind of got up. But
it was,
she was still impressive.
She was learning on the job, and she was well on top of the line. The second and third had previous runs. That kind of hasn't been upheld. The second horse went and got beaten in the National Stakes, but I think it's still a solid yardstick on debut for her to go and beat 2 more experienced colts, especially. Her dam won the Queen Mary around about 20 years ago. She's just an out-and-out 5 furlong filly. I believe this is the target. She's an obvious 5 furlong type. And around 20 to 1, I think she's just a really big price. At the minute, I'd probably have a half that. I mean, there's been some really good performances, but at the moment, that's the only one I've really got stuck into. I think you can near enough still get around about the same price for English Oak. For the Wokingham, I think 14 is still available, but I think at this point I
want to be careful.
Probably just wait now until a target's been finalised, really.
But we, of course, should get on to the Epsom Derby this weekend because it's the main focus of this podcast, one of the biggest races in the whole season. It's one of the ones that drives the most interest. We saw that last year with the sort of interaction we had with the podcast. How do you see this picture?
Well, I'll be diplomatic and not say it's
yeah, please be diplomatic.
A poor renewal.
We've fallen out about this in the past.
We could say it's a competitive renewal.
Good man.
There's lots in with chances this year.
Company man. Like to see that. Sell the race, please.
I've been umming and on all kind of week, and there is one that I have absolutely come down on now. I'm not going to reveal that just yet, but it is just a fascinating race. I mean, you have to start with City of Troy, of course. He's dominating all the headlines, the betting. I mean, you could not back this horse with stolen money, I don't think. On the back of that Newmarket performance, you just could not back him. I fully bought into. Well, I mean, you're so impressive at 2, obviously, but you were just so disappointed. Like, there's no obvious excuse in the stalls for me. I cannot have that from Aidan O'Brien. Regardless of how much he's grown, that doesn't really matter.
Yes.
But he was beaten after 3 furlongs, and there's just no way on that evidence how he could really be 9 to 4 either.
No.
I think he's a shocking price. He has to be a lay. He has to be a place lay. I mean, that wouldn't be putting advice, but I can't even see him in the places, to be honest. It'd be interesting to see what
that's the race, just so everyone, that's the race blown wide open to begin with.
It is, yes.
We've been hearing a lot of chat this week, last week, building up to it, with a load of people saying, well, he could just win 3 or 4 lengths here. You know, this is how talented. People worried, and they're starting to circle back now. And the sort of, you know, as the time has built away from the Guineas, the kind of oh my God, horror factor has built off that, and everyone has worn off, and they've started to come back to their original position, gone, Aidan's telling us this is an absolute rocket, and last year he had one in exactly the same position. He's now he's a shorter price than August Rodin was last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it is an amazing vote of confidence we're seeing from everyone behind this horse. Although we're seeing a little bit of red across the screen, a few horses being back. I mean, Ambiente Friendly is drifting a little bit like I thought he would. And the Ancient Wisdom coming in with a little bit of rain in the forecast. Los Angeles looks like a stayer, didn't he, on his performance at Leopardstown.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see them push towards the market.
Yeah.
Now, push towards the head of the market. So it's a changing picture at the start of the week. Are there any of those ones coming in, Ancient Wisdom, Los Angeles, the more staying types from the more attractive stables, are they starting to tempt you in any way? Attractive of the outsiders in terms of the stables?
Well, I think it is important to mention what we think the ground will be. They had 8 mils on Sunday, they've had another 4 mils today. For all it's been, I've been working in Ealing today in West London. It's been quite a nice day.
But I've been around London today and there's showers everywhere, and it feels to me like we're a month early at the moment. It feels like we're getting April weather in May, where we're in showers, 16 degrees max sort of temperature. It feels like an unsettled forecast to me that could change at any moment.
Well, it's obviously soft good to soft.
Yes.
They've had a bit more rain, that's going to maintain that for another day.
There's rain forecast tomorrow as well.
There is, it's a really unsettled forecast. I think at best, at quickest, it's going to be good to soft.
Yeah.
So I think you have to go on the proviso it's going to be soft, good to soft. That's pretty much what it is now.
But I think there's potential in that forecast. It could even be good. I think it's so hard to predict at this stage because we are in this April showersy sort of stage. Well, and if you're listening to Andrew Cooper, at the Gallop this morning, he's saying they've had a particularly dry May. There.
Right.
So underneath there clearly is potential for drying ground because they said they just hadn't had a lot of rain at the course, and it just feels like it's been like that all around the country, these sporadic showers. So I feel like it's a very hard going forecast this weekend to predict in any way.
Yeah, I think at this stage, obviously, we're recording Monday night, there's obviously a bit of guesswork in terms of what the ground's going to be. I think you have to just go down on what you think it will be. I'm going to go down on the thought process that it's going to be good to soft, maybe on the easier side of that. Yeah. And with that in mind, the horse I like the most is Ancient Wisdom for Charlie Appleby. I don't actually think he ran badly at all, actually, with hindsight in the Dante. I think that was the best trial. Yeah. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased in being an economic supporter, but just looking back, they went so quick that day at York that it was notable to me how much he was pulling Ancient Wisdom, this is, under William Buick, on ground that was probably quicker than ideal. He's handled it fine, obviously, but you look at them coming into around the 2-3 furlong pole there, economics has gone by him there, he's kind of blocked his path. I think a lesser horse, obviously turned into the straight, he was already under the pump a bit. A lesser horse probably would have faded. I think that I really like that, the fact that he really did plug on to almost come away at the line. He was just ahead of the third horse. And I think on softer ground, with blowing away the cobwebs, obviously that's going to take the freshness out of him. And now with the ground coming in his favour, I think of all of them, I think he's the most solid. I think we'd said prior to the Dante episode that, well, I certainly said in my opinion that this was always their number one Dante hope. Obviously, the Sandown winner doesn't run, but the vibes I'd always got was that Ancient Wisdom was their number one over Arabian Crown. And watching it back again over the last couple of days, I really come down to the fact that if he does get a good bit of ease, then he would be my standout pick in the race. Obviously, he's got the pedigree to do it on the dam side. We've always had a bit of a joke over the last few years. He's certainly starting to change that, obviously, with, the angle would be that I've always thought that Dubawi was a little bit disappointing in terms of being a real top-notch sire in terms of winning the top Group 1s. He's never actually sired a Derby winner, as we know. Yes. But since then, he's obviously, Caribus has won the Guineas, Eldarov's won a Ledger. So he is now winning classic races. Two Darn Hots, the Postbones. Of course, yeah. Like his runners to come to mind. Group race performers, obviously it's unquestionable, him and Galileo, clear. I just always, obviously a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but I've always wanted to just see that little bit more. And again, obviously he's not a young horse now, not a young stallion. I mean, they would love to have a Derby winner on his CV, wouldn't they? And
hasn't he had plenty of time? Hasn't he had plenty,
he's had plenty of time
at
to,
this stage?
and he hasn't had.
Confident that this horse is the one?
I think he is, yeah.
Okay.
I think this is a poor renewal. It's a very winnable renewal, and the more I kind of reflect on the Dante, I don't think it was actually a bad race.
No.
I think considering how hard he pulled in the early stages and how quick they went, he was up with the pace. The fact he's come back and staying on, he's just crying out for a mile and a half. He really is. I think his profile really is going to suit up for this trip. And as I say, if he's getting his ease in the ground, if it comes up soft, I'll be even sweeter on him. Obviously, there is a sea of blue around. I think the market is reacting to that.
Yeah, reacting to the weather forecast.
Well, Ambient Friendly, I think he would want quicker ground. So possibly that's why he is drifting. And I think obviously Ancient Wisdom, because I was expecting it probably would be on the quicker side if you'd asked me this time last week. As we say, the weather's quite unpredictable. So he's a general sort of 6 to 1, 11 to 2. I really would struggle to see him out the places, so he would be quite a strong each-way selection for me. Ancient Wisdom.
I can totally see it. I can totally see it. It makes sense, and I can see him going offshore too. I said to you last week, looking at the weather forecast, it felt unsettled. It just feels like we're in April. It's an April sort of weather situation here. So I thought that there was every chance that there was going to be some soft in the going description, which would give him a chance. For me, I just look at him, and my big question mark is that big knee action, the big lopey horse he is. Is he going to go round the bend in the most graceful way? He just reminds me a lot of Arrest, and obviously last year we had a rattling quick Derby. So it just really depends on how soft the ground is as to whether he's a good bet or not.
Well, Arrest did go favourite in the end, let's remember, on good to firm.
But he never looked comfortable at any stage.
No, he didn't.
And yet he did go to the Gallops morning, which is probably one of the most uninformative mornings of the entire year, isn't it, really?
It is,
they wander around down the hill at half speed, and it doesn't really do anything apart from take the horse there. And actually, it's pointless from a punting perspective, because I don't think you learn anything really. I think it's not a bad thing for horses to go to where they are going to go, and they go, oh, we're here, we're here again. I think it probably helps on an animal.
Just getting them out of their box.
And get them to kind of, because horses remember where they are. They know where they are. To go there again, and having been there before is no bad thing, I think. So, but I just worry how well he's going to go around the bend, but I think he's the clear one, given the weather forecast, that you can pick. I'll throw one at you in terms of, if I was looking at an outsider at this stage, Deira Mile for me is the one that's kind of interesting, with form behind Ancient Wisdom last year on relatively soft ground. Another one that has the stamina for the matter. I know you don't like Camelots. We don't need to go into that again. But I think when he won at Windsor so impressively the other day, obviously in a nothing race, he just looked to have grown nicely. He looks quite athletic. He looks like kind of more of a model that I would look forward to go around Tattenham Corner. So I think he's interesting at one of the bigger prices. Are there any of the other ones in the market that would interest you? And would you like to pour some cold water on Deira Mile?
Well, should we just go through kind of runner by runner? I think.
Yeah, but I've steered you in one direction. I think you need to start there.
Well, in terms of Deira Mile, he's not good enough to win. So
okay. He only got beaten a couple of lengths by Ancient Wisdom last year.
He did, yes.
Is he not just a steady, bringing along type that could run well in this at a big price, given the fact that it's a bad renewal, he'll cope with the ground? What else are you looking at in this race that is going to run better than him?
Well, I do quite like Ambient Friendly.
Oh, fair enough. I thought you said the ground wouldn't suit.
Well, that would be the concern. I don't think that Lingfield form in behind is up to much, but the manner in how he was quite keen early on and expending energy early to come and travel as well as he did, and obviously was eased up at the line. It could have been the distance could have been a fair bit further than it was. You can't not be impressed with that. The ground would obviously be concerned, but in terms of my two, it would be Ambient Friendly, and I was just so impressed by the way he expended energy early, and he stayed on, travelled, and come away at the line, eased.
Very impressive, wasn't it?
He was, yeah. As I say, though, I guess the concern for him, I'm not fussed at all really about the jockey switch and that. As we know, the thoughts, bizarre decision to switch off Shepherd, but it doesn't matter really. I'm not sure he's a top notcher. I'm a little worried about the strength and depth of the horses in behind. I can't have that Illinois. I think he's slow as a boat. That's going to be a 2-miler. Do you know what I mean? Los Angeles, similar. He's the Camelot I'm thinking of. Hasn't done anything wrong really today, let's be honest. He's won every race. He was sort of pulling away, as we mentioned last week at Leopardstown. It's just something in the back of my head, sort of as we did going into the 1,000 guineas with Ylang Ylang, that there's just something about this horse that I think he's probably not going to have the gears to travel with them, turning in. And as we know in Epsom, there's no hiding place, is there?
There is no hiding. It's also a price thing, isn't it? He's 5-1 now. I mean, does he?
Yeah.
I just thinking that I think you're better off taking a punt that he's not tip top, because you're looking at a fairly open renewal. You haven't got loads. If he was a normal year running like that, he'd be a sort of a 12 to 14 to 1 shot, and you'd be looking at him thinking, oh, okay, maybe he's one of those slow, bring along Ballydoyle types that might run really well here if the right setup. But at 5-1, I'd rather be taking a swing at something else in this.
100%. This almost, you've got to also tie into City of Troy the fact that he's on the drift and this lad is coming in. I mean, that's a rancid vote of confidence for City of Troy. The fact that is.
But isn't it also, doesn't it cast aspersions on everything else in the race that he's the one coming in? Like the whole lot of them should be coming in to some degree. Exactly,
and Wayne Lawton's obviously going to keep the ride. I just can't get away with my gut feeling is this horse is a ledger type. I would struggle to see him having the gears to win around here.
But we also then need to look at it from the other side, that we've seen them all start slowly this year, and you know he was in a fairly slowly run race and he was pulling away at the line.
Yeah,
there's every chance he jumps forward. It's just you're having to be very, very confident and sort of trusting at 5-1. And for me that is a little bit unappealing this year. But I don't know.
It's skinny.
I think it's all skinny. I think you do have. It's a year where really, from a punting perspective, it's not the most sort of like. It's not a race where you can really get stuck in and come up with something really solid, because it's not got the depth in behind here. We're having to take some sort of punt with everything, aren't we? To some degree. You know, even like a horse like Macduff. I mean, I really liked that Arabian Crown performance at Sandown. I thought that was really visually impressive. And he was grinding away in behind it. And as a Rafe Beckett horse, he's going to, you know, you're hoping he's going to step forward, but he's going to have to step forward
quite a bit.
A lot of them are going to have to really come forward. So there's plenty of guessing in this.
In that final half furlong, it was just like, it was hard to be really enthused by it.
You had Portland like flashing from the back there and looked the strongest. And I know to some extent Rosser was kind of easing down on him a bit.
Yeah.
But still, it was a little bit underwhelming.
It was, yeah. As I say, it's really hard to be enthused by that. And for all this promise on pedigree side, he's one I think is quite skinny at 16s again.
And then you got the Bellum Justum in there, or Bellum Justum. Like, when was the last time one ran really well in the Epsom Derby trial and actually ran well in the race, or even ran in the race?
I mean, the O'Brien horse has come out and won since. That was a boost to the form on the weekend there, but Defiance was
Chief Little Rock, wasn't it?
Chief Little Rock, that's the one. Defiance went and disappointed behind Ambient Friendly. They've kind of half been all beating each other, and
so I look at something like, I mean, like you got Deira Mile, and he's in there with just a little bit of decent 2-year-old form, an easy win this year, could easily jump forward a bit and be competitive at a reasonable price. Voyage ran really well on debut, but my God, you'd be taking a massive guess there. Looked a nice horse, but in general, I can totally understand. This is a sort of race where I can totally see, knowing how you like to look at races, you would look at some of the outsiders and find it really hard to kind of make too much of a case for them and think we need to stick at the top end of the market. And Ancient Wisdom is the one with the classiest profile.
Well, he's the Group 1 winner.
And a decent price.
He's bred to improve.
Yes.
I think he is the logical choice. He's going to get his conditions. And for that, it probably is.
Yeah.
It makes sense of why I've probably come down on him.
Yeah. And you just look at this race where he's not that far behind him.
He's not, no.
And I think it was, you know, if you look, it was a very attritional.
This is the Futurity Trophy we're on about, of course. On heavy ground, though, it's just a real old slog.
But we see big priced horses run well in these derbies all the time coming forward. He's the sort of profile that I'd look at and think, do you know what, he could outrun 25-1 in this race. But I know how you look at it. You look at it. You often are operating in that sort of 11 to 4, all the way down to 7 to 8 to 1 sort of. That's where your bread and butter is in these races, especially where there isn't the highly competitive sort of nature to it.
I just don't think anything we've seen from Deira Mile justifies saying that he could win it. He's not been good enough then, probably in conditions that would see him. That's probably what meant he could get as close.
Because you've got fast net rock. It's fast net rock down. You know, that soft ground, Camelot, he's going to deal with that fine.
Yeah.
And so obviously those conditions are great. It's just those conditions might prevail at the weekend and you might have a decent chance of getting in the 3.
I think if Owen Burrows had really rated him, he would have put him in a trial.
Yes.
As you say, it was an often race at Windsor. I think if he'd been burning up the gallops or working on whatever he's going with at home, they would have thought, well, let's see where we stand. I think it's a bit of a punt in an open year. And as I say, there's nothing to suggest that you could win it. Fair enough, you could be a 4th or a 5th. I mean, Ylang Ylang at a big old price for the same owners. I think they've got Sadati as well. Is why they'd have a go as well. But I just can't have Deira Mile. As I said, I've seen nothing from him that would suggest that he'd be good enough to win this race. Yeah.
Understandable. He's one that might tempt me each way, but in general, I think it's very high. I like Ancient Wisdom for the same reasons. You know, that's the form line. I'm only looking at him thinking you've got a horse that wasn't far behind him, that has only run in a nothing race recently, shown he's well and improving kind of in terms of physically, seeing him in the paddock beforehand. He could run well in behind him in what's a year. Dancing Gemini, obviously, I think we should touch on him.
We've not talked
about
yet.
I think we should touch on Dancing Gemini. He ran really, really well in the French Guineas. He, to me, just screams out 10 furlongs being the best thing for him. I just think he's got a little bit of pace about him. I'm not sure that the final 150 yards proved to me that that he was going to stay.
No, I'd agree with that. He certainly has enough pace. When you watch that French Guineas back, he's very comfortable for how quick they went on tiring ground. And he's come to win his race there. When you watch it back at the furlong pole and you think, go on then, and you think he's going to go and pull away by half a length. And if anything, Diego Velázquez, who we should probably mention as well.
This thing, people
he's
say,
coming back to him.
And people will say, literally, it's a slowly run race, it's turned into a sprint, it's not going to suit him, we can't make that judgment. It seemed to me, though, that the more stamina-laden horses were coming later. He got out earlier, he made his dart, and then at the line, in the last 100 yards, he's starting to slow, and the others are starting to come past.
Like, if he was my horse, I would be going French Derby.
Yeah, 100%.
And I assume Diego Velázquez is going there.
Well, that's what we all are led to believe. He's still in there.
He's still in it at this stage.
And he's a horse I love.
I mean, he would definitely be on my 1, 2, 3 if Diego was running here.
Yeah.
Because he has run a brilliant race. But I think the obvious race for both of those horses would have been the French Derby. But fair enough, look, Roger Teal, there's only one Derby, as we know. It's a wide open renewal. Certainly grounds on pedigree that he's going to stay 1.5 miles. He's a strong traveller, which will suit him in the race. He's going to be able to go around at the top of the bend. He's going to be able to fill him up, and we'll see from there. Just on that run last time, I was a little disappointed by that final 100 yards or so, where he's actually kind of had his chance to go and win the race. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's only one bet in the race for me if he would turn up, and that'd be Diego Velázquez.
Right.
He's the horse I really like. Obviously Australia won the Derby. Broome was literally a short head from winning the Derby late.
Yeah.
You got Point Lonsdale, who turned out to obviously be, he's gone up to those kind of staying distances. These are all full brothers. I really, really like. Well, they're brothers. They're not full brothers, they're brothers. But I really, really like this family, and I think that the Derby is suited to them, and I'd love to see him run there. But I understand why they're doing it. He's run really well in France. It's probably what I would do from a sensible perspective. But he's the sort of horse that at the price, if they did decide to say, oh no, we're going to run him here. But given how much confidence they have in the City of Troy, I expect them to run in the French Derby. So kicking on. Right, but have you got anything else? I don't think there's anything else in this race that I'm interested
I think we did start on City of Troy, but I feel like we did brush over them quite quickly in terms of where do you think they'll rate? Obviously, I've always kind of had in my mind, as I've said previously, I thought he was more of a Derby type, certainly on his pedigree. this is a horse that has obviously only performed up to 7 furlongs, disappointing on his first stride a mile. Yeah. Obviously, it's quite possible that whatever reason, he just wasn't right on the day, and he could leave that bound. Of course, we know this. Would you then be aggressive coming into this race if you owned the horse? Obviously, he's always had prominent tactics. My inclination is they probably wouldn't go out to make the run-in. Perhaps certainly Los Angeles won't make the run-in. I think they might have 2, possibly 3 at most. He'll certainly be up there for me.
I can't. Yeah, can you? If you're just looking at it, I think it has potential to be messy, because I don't think they're going to really want to run a pacemaker when he's quite free going and could naturally just take himself quite prominently. But they might want to get one in there just to settle him. I just worry when you've had a horse bomb out like that, that's been a very generous, free-going horse. You know how he is. He's quite athletic. He's zippy. He gets away. Aidan said that they've never run a horse as quick as this in the Derby. Yeah. I just look at it and go, this is going to be so interesting from a tactical perspective as what they're going to do with him, because I think he's the sort of horse that I think if you were really planning his career based on what was probably like best for him, I'd be stepping up to 10 first. Okay. Starting to kind of progress him forward, get him used to running over longer distances. This horse seems, he does find it so easy, but he's going to get posed just the most ridiculously different challenge to how he's been going. And you obviously don't want him to lead like he has been trying to do in all his races, but you're going to want to be prominent with him, but he could get free. And is he going to really stay the trip? I'm a little bit with George Baker on this. That's my big concern, is whether his individual way of going is going to suit an Epsom Derby. Or a Derby, for anyone that gets really offended by anyone saying Epsom Derby.
Oh, there'll be a few, I'm sure.
There'll be sure, yeah. I just felt the comments raining
down. The Betfred Derby, we should probably have.
Comments flying in.
No, I certainly think he's going to be up in the 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's, especially with easier conditions. Of course, you're going to have stamina. I personally don't worry about the trip for him. I think it'll be fine.
On pedigree, it's fine.
It's fine,
his own way of going. We've all got. There are plenty of examples of horses on pedigree that should stay, but their own individual personalities.
Ryan's never battling with him though. He's letting him stride on. And I think on what we've seen, certainly a mile's not going to be a problem.
Well, not exactly. Yeah,
of course. Yeah. But we're going up obviously 4 or 5 furlongs from what we've seen from him, but. There's obviously no hiding place. I don't think that they will need a pacemaker anyway, because they're going to go, whatever's going to make the run is going to make it a true test anyway. It's fascinating, it really is.
He's just great and ponderable.
Yeah, I just, the score of last time of beating after 3, 4 furlongs,
it's a worry.
It just makes them almost impossible to certainly as a backing proposition, but it's hard to see him really in the places.
I'd love to see him run really well. I want to see him run really well.
Of course, yeah, of course.
I'd rather obviously whatever I back win, and it's not going to be him. But in general, I'd like to see him run well for the interest of the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he's a fascinating horse.
Yes, yeah.
And he made everything look so easy last year. I'd love him to take to this.
I think probably the only horse that we kind of haven't mentioned is Dallas Star, who I think at the price is probably a little bit underrated. Obviously winning a fair enough Irish trial.
Indeed.
Hasn't been seen since. He's a possible pace angle.
He is.
And there is quite a few keen going horses in this.
So you're seeing some? Are you seeing some similarities last year?
Oh, I certainly know King. He's no King of Steel, of course, but. I think
if you look back at the horses that that won this trial compared to some of the other trials, you've got the likes of Harzan going back there, the Brooms, Bolshoi Ballets, White Birch, Pisbadils, horses that have gone off considerably shorter than 40 to 1.
That's what I mean. At 40 to 1, I think at around 20 to 1, 25, I think be a fairer price. Of course, when you look at the horses in behind Illinois, they've shown in other trials that.
Yes.
He hasn't beaten too much yet, and hence probably, as a 51 shot to win anyway, probably says a lot. But I just think that was a little bit too big for him.
But of all the years, you're always going to say it's going to be a lot for a 50 to 1 shot or a 40 to 1 shot to win. But they do. It's just not really your cup of tea.
Right. General. I think we should do a 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3s?
Yeah, it's the Derby.
1, 2, 3s. You want a 1, 2, 3 for the Derby?
you want me to go first?
I want you to go first.
Yeah, I'm very strong on Ancient Wisdom each way. As I say, the more rain, the better from at this stage. It's already looking likely that he'll get his conditions in some form and around good to soft.
Yeah.
He's ran the best trial for me. There was obviously excuses of where there's going to be considerable improvement to come. Pedigree-wise, certainly on the downside, that he's going to really, really enjoy stepping up to 1.5 miles. And I think at around 6 to 1, he's really solid price, and I can see why he's been backed in.
Yeah.
And yeah, he'd be my quite strong selection each way. Second, Ambient Friendly on the other hand. The worsen on the ground is against him, but I was impressed, as I say, with the way he travelled, having pulled so hard as he did at Lingfield. I think the fact he's trained by James Fanshawe means he's a couple points bigger than he should be. And as I say, I said earlier, of those two, I would be surprised
if they don't
run
really well.
I'd be very disappointed if one of those two isn't going very close in this year's Derby. And to round off my 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go with Dancing Gemini, who I do have stamina concerns. If he was mine, as I said, I would be going French Derby.
Yeah.
But again, there is
potential for it not to be the biggest stamina test
for it to be fine. And look, that is top class form. He's come there to almost win a French Guineas. He's going to travel around absolutely fine. Yeah. He's got pace. We'll find out if he does have the stamina.
Yeah.
And I think, well, he has kind of collapsed in price, but around 12 to 1, I thought he was fair enough. But yeah, those would be my 1, 2, 3.
Makes perfect sense to me. I'm on the same line as you, as I've said through this. I think Ancient Wisdom, the only doubt is whether he's going to come around the bend okay. And I think in this particular derby, I don't think it's going to be the most fiercely run. I could be wrong, but I think in general it might help him a bit more, and especially with how I've been saying with the weather, I felt it's been unseasonably sort of unpredictable for a May, early June sort of time.
Yeah.
We're looking at April showers. I think it's going to be enough cut in the ground to kind of suit his big, like, lolloping knee action. You know, if in terms of a bet, as I said, Deira Mile, I'm going to trust that they're going to have a swing on him, essentially, because with being in behind him on soft ground before last year with a bit of Group 1 form, I think he's one of the ones I would chance of the outsiders. I do understand your case with Dallas Star. I don't think that's mad, but so the one would be Ancient Wisdom, to be followed in by Deira Mile. And my other one would be, I really, really like that Arabian Crown performance. I'm going to trust that Macduff is going to improve from there. I think he looks a nice horse. You know, in terms of the stable, in terms of the owner, I'm going to be trusting in the fact that I think he's going to come forward for this, and he looks nicely balanced. Looks like the type that would really suit Epsom and staying on into a place. And so for me, I'm going to take him to finish third. Those would be my 1, 2, 3s.
Very good.
Is there an old derby that stands out to you that you love?
Well, my kind of first one in memory that I remember really watching was authorised Frankie Dettori's.
Yeah. Remember him?
Yeah. Where is he now? I just remember that as a teenager, that was the first year that I really got engrossed. I think it was on BBC, if I remember correctly. And obviously the fanfare, probably around Frankie Dettori at the time. I obviously don't remember it clearly, but I just remember this was a massive deal. And this is a time when, you know, I'm as a teenager, but football mad, and then it's mainly because of my dad of getting into racing. And it's moments like that, and obviously characters like Frankie, we kind of don't have that. I think maybe if anyone sort of an Oisin Murphy could take that mantle on.
True.
He's quite good with his social media, isn't he? He's obviously riding Bellum Justum this year. But no, that was the first one in memory. In terms of a favourite derby, there is sort of sentimental reasons, but when I first started William Haggis's in 2015, we'd got onto on
Is
the
it going to be a punting story?
Not really, no. It's just...
Shall we get the trumpet out?
No, because when I first started William Haggis, we had Storm the Stars in the derby. He finished third to Golden Horn.
Nasty old sod, didn't you tell me?
Storm the Stars, you wouldn't get in the box with him, I tell you that. He had no self-preservation, that horse, which a bit like Bashara, who was another really good horse. She had a bit of fire in the belly, but he was a really nasty horse. He would go out his way to hurt you. There was only one lad, Jason, and Ben, who looked after him. Like
Jason or Ben or both of them.
Well, Jason used to ride him, and Ben would look after him. Like he was a nasty horse. Like he would go out to hurt you, and he would get joy out of doing that. But I think that obviously makes them.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, some horses are just sour, of course. But yes, I remember we went to, quite possibly could have been Storm the Stars to work. Work one morning, and apparently Golden Horn had, what was his lead horse, Dick Doughty Wiley. Apparently he'd went and they'd done their last piece before the Derby, and he'd went and beat him by about 15-20 lengths, and we were like 2 minutes late from seeing this. William and I pulling up in the car, and it's just one I always remember. He was the talk of the town, obviously in the week leading up to the Derby. After that bit of work, and obviously he duly went and bolted up in the Derby. And Storm the Stars, he ran a really good race in third. He went on to win the Vulture, and then he disappointed in the. He was just a funny horse. He probably would have got beaten in a listed race, but then get placed in the Derby. He was just one of those horses that kind of found winning quite difficult.
Yes.
But yeah, those would be two. Obviously Frankie's Derbies, but those are two that are quite fond of memories of mine.
Yes.
Yours?
As I said, I kind of prepped in the sense I really love a Derby like High Chaparrals, just because I love it when two pull away. I always think it's just that one of the greatest shots in racing is the shot change at Epsom.
Yeah.
You know, when you get one of those great shot changes where you see the horses that are going forward and going back. It's one of the most distinct you can see. Leopardstown's another decent one. You know, I remember when you saw a great race was Tarnawa and St Mark's Basilica, and what was the other one? The Bolger horse. The Dawn Approach, wasn't he called?
Yeah, he was a good horse.
Very good horse. Anyway, we don't need to know. What a fantastic shot change that was, where you saw the change of pace and all of them going away from the Joseph O'Brien rag, where they just went, whew, and you saw the difference between good horse and average horses. And you see it, you get it every year. At Desert Crown, pulling it like that. When you get that switch of the camera, and you suddenly see this one that's just completely surging away. And
that move from the 3 to the 2 was
savage. And then when you get a race like Hawkwing and High Chaparral, where they're both pulled away from the rest of them by far, and you get a right solid battle.
Very good. Yeah.
We should probably do the Oaks, because we don't want to be keeping everyone forever.
Well, we should. Maybe the viewers have their favourite derbies, and certainly their 1, 2, 3. What do you think will win the race? Of course, we've kind of just been talking about what we think.
Exactly. We want to know what you think. That's most important. Interaction.
We always enjoy reading the comments.
We certainly do. We should reply to more of them, but we like to. You all have very staunch opinions, so we bring them to the next shows for sure. No, but it's always great to have people interacting and telling us what you think we win. So please do give us your 1, 2, 3s, and also your favourite derbies. Maybe even more interesting, your favourite derbies, because it's just a race that will always just hold a special place in my heart, and you always have your favourite ones, don't you? So
yes, we do.
It's a fabulous race. And with that, on that note, we should move on to the fillies version.
The Betfred Oaks, yeah.
Betfred Oaks, sponsors
Get the
included.
sponsor in.
Please do. Watch all of this weekend's racing live on Racing TV.
Right, enough of the politics. Ylang Ylang ran a very good trial in the Guineas.
She did.
Staying on into 5th.
Yeah, she was strong at the line, I thought.
Yeah, I personally, because I expected her to find that she ran as expected, and I think she's a very worthy favourite. No kind of doubts on the pedigree, and it's not original that she is going to be my selection in the race. I know it's not what the viewers are thinking. Oh,
here we go.
But
see, you've tuned in for this, have you? You've tuned in for Jack to tip up the fav. Exactly. Well done to you. You've learned something today. Enjoy your dinner.
Well, if I'm putting up 2 winners, then that's it, really. Do you know what I mean?
Well, we'll see.
A 9 to 4 winner is certainly better than what do you want, a 10 to 1 loser?
What, you want a 25 to 1 horse that finishes 4th?
Like Deira Mile finishing 5th or 6th.
Exactly. We run well though, didn't he?
Well, yeah.
Sharon running really well in the Guineas, but then
we don't get paid for running well.
Yeah, that's not the way to go, is it? With the Sharon thing, you back him each way in the Guineas and think, oh, he ran really well, and then you don't back him next time when he absolutely bolts up and beats the 2-year-old Hot Pot from last year over sprint trips. Yeah, I'm not bitter about it at all.
It doesn't sound like it.
Not bitter.
But Ylang Ylang actually reminds me quite a bit of Tuesday.
Yeah?
She ran really well in the Guineas, obviously came on.
Yeah. Kind of never near a sort of effort in the Guineas. Like, you know, with Tuesday, you never really thought she was going to win, did you?
We never the same for Ylang
Exactly.
Ylang.
That's why I'm drawing the comparison for that reason.
Yeah. And like, she's outstayed Shawari in the Fillies Mile at the back end of last year. I mean, just looking on that run alone, you didn't even need to see what she would do in the Guineas to know that she was going to be the Oaks filly.
Yeah, and so Frankel, she's by Frankel, obviously. So he's had 2 Oaks winners already. He had 1 Derby winner. He's clearly, you know, showing that he's
shown the way for Dubawi, you know, in a limited time frame. I mean, Dubawi's had a good period. This was always my gripe, that, you know, he should be having more classic winners, and Frankel's already shown the way.
Well, he should have more classic winners. I'm not sure he should be having more classic winners up to 1.5 miles.
Why not?
Well, just because it's not. Frankel's a very different horse to him. Frankel should have stayed 1.5 miles.
Yeah, but Frankel's having all kinds of winners, isn't he?
Yes, he is. He throws to the mare for sure. But Dubawi he tends to have more mile, 10 furlong horses max.
It is interesting to know how much pace he does actually put in.
Frankel?
No, Dubawi.
I was going to say, yeah, Dubawi does put in a lot of pace. But you know, a lot of these things there's the stamp of the horse you get. As I said, with a Frankel, whenever you're at the sales and you see Frankels coming by, they can come in any form, shape, or size.
Yeah.
Like clearly, the mare has a big effect on what sort of thing you're going to get here, and clearly he's doing his bit. But it's not necessarily in giving a type. Whereas, so for example, if you look at a horse like See the Stars, when you go to the sales and you get them to bring out a horse that's by See the Stars that you want to look at, you get a type. You know what they're going to look like already. He's got the whole look and manner of the horse is See the Stars. He stamps every bit of them. Frankels, you can get a Frankel that looks like a Labrador, and you get one that looks like an elephant. Like they are so different, and you know the way that they're greys, they are chestnuts, they're all over the place. You know, the Dubawi, you get this bay horse that is stubby, short coupled, will go on any ground. Mines are fantastic, but you don't get the range, and so Frankel will give you this range of stayers down to quicker horses. Dubawi will give you the short, kind of close coupled horse that will tend towards shorter distances. Now, occasionally you're going to get a variation. Ancient Wisdom looks like a variation for sure.
Well, we should therefore bring in Ezeliya.
We should.
Who's a Dubawi.
Yeah. Did in my girl.
Yeah, she did. What do you think of her?
Well, I like her. I think she's obviously going to improve massively from that, you know, being a Dermot Weld horse.
Would you be confident about the trip?
Not massively, but she wouldn't be one for me. But Teofilo and Dubawi, it looks like a 10 furlong sort of pedigree, but we shall see. I like Teofilo as a dam sire. But they are. I mean, he does put a bit of stamina into him.
She kind of came out of nowhere to win that the last day, didn't she? And then all of a sudden,
she's
best price 4-1 for the.
Yeah, I thought Rubies Are Red did way more to convince me in terms of her. I thought her performance was fantastic, coming from so far back. Ryan asked a lot of her.
Yes, but would it not worry you that the fact she got so far detached? She ran in snatches a little bit early and then found herself so far back. Obviously, she's finished off like a train and would be in front in another half furlong, of course.
But do you not think that maybe this time she's going to get more of an aggressive ride?
Well, is she quick enough to go with them early on?
Potentially, she isn't. Well, but I just think that maybe she's just not quite with it yet. I think that's more likely than...
Possibly, yeah. Of course, she's a maiden still.
Yeah, on the back of 3 runs.
Yeah.
That incredible pedigree. Right, you couldn't get a nicer pedigree.
It's important to mention Galileo, of course. He's one winner away from 100 individual Group 1. And it would be really apt that one of his best daughters
and let's be honest, his daughters are sensational.
Oh, absolutely, of course. This filly's a full sister to Found, won an ARC. This would be the 100th, as we mentioned there, 100th individual winner for him. And it would be a great angle. She reminds me a little bit of Save the Last Dance. I think she was in season when she won at Chester, obviously by about 22 lengths or whatever it was. But she just ran snatches early on, and she did find everything just happened a bit too quickly.
But she went so close to winning it anyway.
She did, but I think she's a better horse by far than what Rubies Are Red is at this time. And I just worry that this might still be a bit too soon. She's not quite streetwise enough.
But that is an opinion that is based on a quicker ground trial.
Of course, yeah.
Potentially she could have gone to Chester last year and run just as well as Sea Last Dance.
It's good, that's a good point. I think softer ground will suit her. At 4-1 though, she's short enough.
Definitely.
You'd kind of want almost double that, I think. I certainly can see her in the 1, 2, 3. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just she's short enough, but I think she's fairly solid.
Oh yeah, like
I like
Galileo blood. Do you know what I mean? If you're going to look anywhere in both races, I mean, this is where you're going to start, really, isn't it? You know, she's almost guaranteed to give you a run for your money.
Yeah. I think there's far less attractive outsiders in here, personally.
I agree. Dan Sequence looks to be on the very much on the downgrade. Secret Satire was keen enough. You'd have huge doubts on her staying the trip.
Huge doubts.
Especially on a testing ground. She was keen enough at York. Fair enough, she won well. I think it was probably a poor
slow time.
Renewal.
It was a slow time.
Friendly Soul, obviously disappointed. Yeah, I could not have her, to be fair.
Not me.
You Got To Me was given a brilliant ride.
By an underrated jockey, you were telling me this week.
Yeah, I really like Hector Crouch.
Yeah. Really good jockey. Really good bloke. So, I really hope she goes well for him.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it'd be interesting if he
did mention on Knuckles Sunday the weekend that Treasure would be the one if the ground came up soft, and he couldn't get off his filly, but if the ground came up soft, she'd have a right chance. So that was just something for anyone who wasn't watching Luck on Sunday at the weekend.
I didn't catch that.
Nick Luck was saying he was getting on as quickly as possible. So you follow the Shrewds in.
Right. Okay, no, that's.
But he said that he would be tempted to. He would never get off his filly.
It's not going to be soft though, is it?
No.
It's going to be good to soft.
Absolutely not.
No. Yeah.
So I just think as I say, the thing that convinced me was the fact that Andrew Cooper said that they hadn't had a huge amount of rain. The ground was just nice after a shower for the gallop this morning. It's you need some sort of kind of really long sustained rain for it to turn soft there on a showers week. Really soft.
And Rafe Beckett's almost been stereotyped, as we know he's a top class trainer, but like he was stereotyped almost as the OAKS trainer. He certainly knows the time of day. Yes. With these fillies, obviously having a right go. Yeah. I think he mentioned he's going to have 5 or 6.
Carpet bombing him was his phrase.
Right.
Was the weekend.
Well, we should probably mention Forest Fairy.
Yes.
I wasn't overly blown away by the Chester performance.
It was grinding, wasn't it?
Yeah, she only narrowly won. I didn't think that was one of the better trials, personally.
I'd rather be all in on Rubies Are Red than anything each way, to be honest, in this.
Okay.
As in, I was saying, I just don't want to be playing anything each way in this race, personally.
Right.
I think you take your chances with the ones at the top of the market.
Yeah.
The further you go down,
the worse it gets. Yeah.
It just looks to me like you've got some Rafe Beckett middling horses. One of them can take a big jump forward, or you're back in one of the top 3.
I mean, I just find it so hard to get away from Ylang Ylang. I think
I understand it.
In terms of my 1, 2, 3, it would be.
Let's get 1, 2, 3s.
Yeah, Ylang Ylang for me. As I say, I think there's going to be so much more improvement to come. At a mile and a half, she's ran a wonderful trial in the Guineas.
Yeah.
She's the class act in the race, obviously on last year. I find it very hard to pick holes, and I'll be quite disappointed. I'm strong enough on Ancient Wisdom, but she would be my best bet of the weekend. I'm kind of scratching around for anything on the undercard at this stage. Yeah. Anyway, but I think at 9-4, 2-1, she's a standout bet in this. I think Ezeliya. It's going to be hard for you to hear, but I don't rate that Navan form overly strongly. I think she's quite short at around 4-1, and as we can probably both agree on, is Rubies Are Red. My worry with her, as I say, is if she's going to have the gear. I think Ylang Ylang might just be a bit more streetwise and a bit quicker for her in terms of getting a track position as well. Ryan's obviously going to ride Ylang Ylang as well. She's clearly the horse that's shown up probably more at home as well. Yeah. I mean, how could you get off for a maiden anyway? So, I mean...
No chance.
Yeah, and I mean, she's 4-1. It's skinny, I think. But, in terms of 1, 2, 3...
There's nothing else.
Well, that's it. Yeah, Ylang Ylang Rubies Are Red, and my third would You Got To Me. I thought.
Oh, well, we're nearly identical because I
Okay.
go with Rubies Are Red, Ylang Ylang, and You Got To Me.
Okay.
I'm hoping You Got To Me is going to put some sort of stamina test into this.
Yeah, I think she's
And
the obvious
I'm just going to hope.
pace angle, isn't she? So.
I'm just going to hope that those prices are wrong and I go with a slightly bigger one. But I find it fascinating weekends racing. I just have very my opinions are more tentative.
Yeah. In terms of the rest of the card, obviously we've had confirmation sort of today and entries, confirmations for the Coronation
Yes.
Cup. It does look like there's only going to be 5 at the very most 6 runners. Emily Upjohn, Luxembourg, Feed the Flame, who's into around 6-7 to 1 now with 2 places, so we're in a decent spot from last week's anti-post.
Excellent.
And Hamish could be a runner if it's soft. I don't think it will be if it's good, soft or better. And the only other one I thought...
I think he should run him. Go on.
Well, he might.
Go on, big boy.
The only other one is Time Lock, who has been supplemented, so she's a likely runner. I think she wants quick round, though, so I think it's odd. I thought it was really odd that they supplemented Okeechobee and he didn't run.
Didn't run him. Yeah.
I may have missed that he had a setback, but I think I read earlier today now that he's not going to run in kind of his summer target. So I just found it an enormous waste of money to, unless he has had a setback. But I didn't read that in the
I didn't see any reason.
Yeah.
And so it would have come out latterly. In some
Like
sort of
it was
point.
good to soft. So if they're waiting for autumn ground, then why didn't you run him?
I don't understand it.
Yeah, maybe more clarity will come. I was very disappointed that there's no vintage clarets in the dash. He's a horse I thought was tailor-made.
Yeah.
They ran him on the weekend. I thought that was maybe just a prep run. He has a good record, run within 2 weeks of each other.
Yeah.
So that was a shame because I would have been quite strong on him. But as I say, I'm kind of scratching around in terms of the 2 undercards at this stage.
Well, for firmer bets, social media, I'm sure you'll be on it.
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
week, and you'll be giving your opinions after declaration stage for the undercard.
Thursday and Friday we'll
keep an eye out for that.
More informed decision.
Very tentative shout for Novello for me in the dash. I think it's one of those very specialised tests. I'm sure the whole of this horse's season is going to be around this race.
Okay.
He offer his life again. I'm sure he'll run really well. It's not usually my cup of tea, 5 furlong handicaps, but I do think he'll be off for his life, and I won impressively last year. So.
Well, I hope you have more luck than I did last year in the race when my horse stalled it and open until about 2 seconds after the other.
Yeah, well, you'd be deemed a non-runner now.
Well,
would they? Well, the ones that broke would be deemed non-runners. You'd still carry on, wouldn't you?
I can't even keep up with the rule changes now.
Well, we'll make sure we have that sorted for next week. But shall we call that a day? I think we've given a very thorough look at 2 of the most, they're very deep races, interesting races.
Very deep races, yeah. I think we've kind of hopefully gave an insight of kind of
exactly
a bit more. There was a couple of things I wrote down earlier today in terms of the stalls. Obviously, that's going to be on Thursday for the Derby. Stalls 2, 11, 16. It's not going to be 20 runners, but stalls 2, 11, 16 have never had a winner before.
Yep.
I wouldn't really read anything into that, to be honest.
But surely just basically the closer you are to breaking out by that rail, in general, the worse it is.
I would just around sort of 5 to 10 is ideal. So the fact that 11's never won before, I think, is just a variance, really. Yeah,
just a fluke.
And only 4 grey winners. The last one in 1946. The only reason I wrote that down is
to rub it in about White Birch.
Well, no, I'm sure we spoke about that maybe last year in terms of we were racking our brains. So, I was looking in the media pack this morning. So, the last grey horse was 1946.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, a long time.
Very long time for that. Right, well, been fascinating. Let's hope we have a fabulous renewal of this race. As I said, it's very, very exciting, always every year to see them swing around Tattenham Corner, see history be made. You only get 1 shot at the Derby. It's such an important race for breeding still, though people will say it's not, it still is in terms of, going on and really stamping some stamina into the breed. So I always, as someone who loves middle distance races, I think it's hugely important that we all get behind the Derby still. So please do enjoy the whole weekend on Racing TV. We remind you, as always, to please gamble responsibly, and we will see you next week.